What up, Lou Know It? Haven't really been making videos. Been doing a lot of stuff. The plan for the channel is to keep doing movie reviews. I want to do some stuff with my daughter. I think that's dope. And then I want to do some game reviews. And I'm going to do some, I started working for Instacart. I'm going to do some reviews about that. And so one of the other things that I want to do is start talking about social issues because of conversations I've had with my friends and because of, thoughts that I've had. And so one of the things that I figured I'd talk about now and maybe get a lot of hate for it, and like it's an inflammatory topic, but everything going on right now is really crazy, and I felt like I wanted to make a video talking about it. And so I decided, while not in the midst of what I'm doing something else, and not with a prepared, list of things to talk about, let's do it on the fly and see what happens. So I kind of want to talk about everything that's going on and the Black Lives Movement, and it's something I've discussed with my friends a lot. So to give you kind of overview of where I'm coming from, I'm a white liberal. I'm a moderate liberal, but I'm a liberal. My ideals stand for the most part on the liberal side of things. Now, I'm in, most of my good friends are liberals, if not all, and they're probably more liberal than me. And I'm also in some chat rooms where I'm in two, pretty heavily conservative chat rooms, not with my friends, and I'm in one more liberal one. And so I did that in the hopes of trying to understand why people supported Trump, who I hated, and why people felt the way they did. So recently, one of the things that was interesting to me is I hear people talk about Black Lives Matter in the conservative side like it's a terrorist organization. And then I have friends who are taking their little kids to Black Lives Matter protests and stuff. And it struck me as such a discrepancy between the way that these two groups view this organization that I really wanted to find out more and think more about, well, what does Black Lives Matter stand for? And why do some people view it as, a terrorist organization, and some people view it as, a necessary sort of catalyst for change in this country? So it started, as I understand it started first of all as sort of a sentiment or statement. And then three women, I believe, formed the group around that name. And it was originally formed in response to police violence towards black men, and evolved over time to really, encompass the value of black life in America, and that includes disenfranchisement and things like that. It includes the way that basically black lives aren't as valued as much. I hate to quote Kanye, but George Bush don't care about black people, which wasn't entirely true, but some of it was. And the point is that really they have been, as a group, more sort of denied rights and privilege. We're talking recently. Obviously, going back, people were fucking slaves and had their history stolen from them. And so, and that's why this is a complicated conversation, because one of the things that I have trouble talking about with my conservative sort of, acquaintances is that they refuse to believe in institutionalized racism, and they don't understand how it's like the black experience is unique in America in the sense that they had their culture stolen away from them. No other culture's like that. You look at the other slaves throughout history, you look at the Irish slaves, you look at the Jewish slaves, like it was horrible what happened to them, but they didn't lose their cultural identity. They still were able to connect back to their ancestors and their tradition. The slaves that were stolen from Africa, and it wasn't all white men to be blamed. It was mostly, but yes, there were, the other argument that gets used is there were black, people selling off these captured people from, war within Africa and stuff to the Western slave traders. And but the bottom line is they were stripped completely of their culture, of their history, of their tradition. And so they created a new culture in slavery. And so that's why the culture for Black America is, there's so many negative aspects of the, certain types of black culture, the hood ghetto culture, because it's like looking flashy. I mean, I read something that said that the reason they liked that comes out of, that they would only get to wear their Sunday best when they were slaves on Sunday, and that's when they were treated the best. So that created this ingrained feeling of like, we got to look our best. I mean, so much of stuff, has been ingrained in our society. I mean, you look at the laws and people act like it was so long ago. I mean, Dave Chappelle has a great grandfather who was born a slave, and you have, I mean, women, this is not about slavery or black people, but just like looking at social sort of causes, women were allowed to be raped by their husbands until like 1993 was when it was finalized in all states that a man couldn't rape his wife. Like, are you kidding me? So basically, going back to the Black Lives Matter, there's no question in my mind that statement and that movement is completely justified and reasonable. And people feel like, well, no, it should be all lives matter and stuff. It's like, no, what we're talking about is that not all lives mattered, and we're saying, hey, Black Lives Matter too. Now, as a marketing thing, I think maybe they should have called it Black Lives Matter also, or two, or whatever, to sort of showcase that, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, that's the message. It's not like Black Lives Matter and others don't. It's like, hey, Black lives haven't mattered, they matter. So then you get to the point of like, now it's been sort of co-opted. There's like 30 organizations that operate under the wing, and it's sort of like AnTifa in the way that it started as a good idea, but there have been acts of violence and negative acts that have been committed under the flag of Black Lives Matter. Now, it's not necessarily tied to the organization, but when you create such a simple branding, anyone can go to a rally with a Black Lives Matter sign and say they're part of the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's difficult, because I do see what they're saying on the conservative side, and I feel like a lot of liberal people refuse to give any merit to the idea that you could call them a terrorist organization or whatever that was. And I think they're not, but I think that you do have to give merit that there have been certain acts of violence and certain things done that shouldn't have been done under the flag, under the Black Lives Matter flag. Now, I mean, for me, again, it's like, there's horrible things that are done under any group, If you're going to condemn all of Black Lives Matter for that, then I'm going to condemn all conservatives for being Nazis, because we know there's some. So the bottom line is that, I think it's complicated, but I definitely, I stand with the ideals of Black Lives Matter. The defund the police thing was really interesting to me because I had a knee-jerk reaction against it, because I felt like we needed the police. Well, then I had friends of mine, shout outs to Aaron Merkin and Iron Solomon and Zach Feinberg, for sort of opening my eyes to the fact that, there's a huge amount of like mismanagement of funds, and they're buying tanks, and they're, I knew about the administrative costs, but like the spending in the police has tripled in the last 40 years to 120 billion, and they're buying tanks and stuff. They're buying like old military stuff, so it's like tied all in with the freaking military industrial complex. So, the defund the police thing, while I'm sure that I can get behind it, it makes a lot more sense to me now. And so there again, like, there's this misinformation where I saw somebody posting about, well, if you're going to, how are defunding the police protesters asking for police present? It's like, well, when they say defund the police, they don't mean, get rid of all the money. Although I think better slogan again, but it doesn't mean that. It just means they need to like manage their money better, perhaps take some of that money and put it to social programs. Certainly, I believe the police need more training. They need more treatment for like things like PTSD, and that money should come out of money for like tanks and stuff and go towards them. So I'm 100%, I'm a full supporter of the police. I think we need them, and I think that they don't get treated well either, and I think they do need more sympathy than they're getting in this time right now, because everything is focused on the horrible things they do. So that's basically my feelings about all this. I am now about to go make moves. That's not my feelings about all that. That's what I can say for now. But it's interesting to me, and I want to continue the conversation. And obviously, Black Lives Matter is it's very important right now. And I'm having conversations with my white daughter, who's half Colombian but still white, about race. And I think that we need to use this time to try and heal things. I also have issues with the overcorrection of canceling everyone. I mean, I think that I have a lot to say on this, so this will be part one, hopefully, in a few part discussion about these things. Lou know it. Peace. Keep it real. And if you can't keep it real, then keep it away from me.